Hey everybody, Bryce here, and today I got a very special React tutorial for you guys. So today we're going to be going ahead and building a calculator. So let me go ahead over to the calculator. So here's what I put together for us. So just a super basic calculator, probably pretty similar to what you've seen if you have a Mac. You got just all your function buttons here, along with an equal sign, decimal, and then all your numbers 0 through 9. And a clear button, so you can go 1 plus 2, hit equals, you see 3, you divide 3 by 2, hit equals, you get 1.5, plus we can do some fractions, or I guess decimals more likely, so like 2.2, and get 3.7, and we can clear it. So just super basic functionality, nothing crazy, but let's go ahead and get started. So to get started, head over to nodejs.org if you don't already have Node installed. If you do have Node installed, it should have came with npm. Go ahead and install this version here, the one that says LTS. That's long-term support. This one is newer, but it may have some breaking features. This one's more stable and probably safer to grab. So grab this version here, go ahead and download it, and it'll take you through an installer once you have that. Also today we're going to be using Visual Studio Code. So if you go to code.visualstudio.com, you can download it for Mac, or if you have Windows, it'll say download for Windows here. It's a great editor, very good for JavaScript editing. Really like it. Also, we'll be using Create React Apps. So this is what I use to bootstrap my projects for React really quickly. As it says, Create React Apps with no build configuration. Works pretty good. So we'll be using this along with Yarn. So if you don't have Yarn, you also have to install that. And then this is the library we're going to leverage. So I found this gem on the internet. It's called MathJS.org. And so it basically allows you to just pump in a string to a formula here, or pump in like all your math into a string, and then it'll go ahead and do the evaluation for you. So we're not actually going to write the evaluation part. This is more just to get familiar with React. So this is kind of the shortcut we'll take since time is of the essence. So let's go ahead and get into it. I'm going to kill this project here. Let me make a new project here. So let me type clear. Hopefully this is large enough for you guys here. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go make sure you already have Node installed. So you should have npm. So you type which npm. That should work, or npm-v. Perfect. So here we'll go npm install -g yarn. Perfect. So now we have yarn installed. We need to install create React app. So here, if we go down the instructions, just need to, where's that? Just gonna install it globally here. So npm install -g for global. We'll type create React app. And I'm not gonna worry about that for now. My npm version's out of date. Type clear. Perfect. So now if we go back over that documentation and we look down here, we'll see this command here. So yarn create React app. And then the name of our app, which will be React Calc. That'll go ahead and scaffold our project for us. Shouldn't be too long since we're using Yarn. Let's let this guy get up to speed here. While it's waiting, please make sure you like, subscribe, and leave a comment if the video helps you out. All that traffic and subscribing and liking, it helps the YouTube algorithms suggest the videos for other people. So that way other people can find these videos. So if you find it helpful, like, subscribe, or share the video, even comment, and it'll help others find the video too. Great, so that's installed now. So let's go ahead and cd change directory into React Calc. Perfect. So from here, we can type yarn start, and we'll see this open up. And there's your default project. Great. So that seems to be working. I'm going to kill that with Control C. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to type code dot, because I already have Visual Studio Code set up. And I'm just going to move this in right here. Perfect. So that just opened that project up. I'm going to hide that from the sidebar. So here's our folder structure as of right now. I'm just going to go ahead and delete this guy. Hit the delete button. Nope, it's actually got to hit delete. Oh, it's command delete. I'm going to get rid of this test too. Command delete. So then if we go in app CSS, app.js, let's get rid of that logo. So just going to clean some stuff up here real quick. We can probably get rid of most of this stuff here, I would think. Yeah, I'm just going to get rid of all of it. Just a lowercase app, so app.css. Get rid of pretty much all this, I think. Let's put something in here. Let's put display flex for right now. So we're going to use Flexbox for that. Let me start my server here. Did I get back up and running? Imagine we might have an error. Let me zoom in so you guys can see that a little better. So there's nothing on the screen. Oh, because I'm not actually rendering anything. There we go. So you see the word test pop up. Cool. So that is looking pretty good. Let's go in here. Let's create a new folder. I'll call this components. Just kind of keep things separated a little bit. And in here we want to create a couple components. So we're going to have kind of a generic button component. We'll call it .jsx. And we'll create button.css. And we also need a special component probably for, let's break up the input. Say input.jsx, input.css, and I think the clear button is going to be a little different. So let's go ahead and create a new file there. Say clear button.jsx. Cool. So I think we got our basic components there. So let's start with, I don't know, let's see. I think we should start with app.js. That's probably best. Let's go down there. So from here, what do we want to do? Oops. Let's put some parentheses there. So inside of here, I'll say calc wrapper. So I like to create a wrapper class. So I'll just kind of box things up for us. And in here, I'm going to put that input, I imagine. And let's say we'll have an input property, and we'll say this.state. Let's wait on that for now. Let's put test here. So nothing should change. Great. So that's a mistake. Let's go back to button.jsx. Let's start there. So in here, let's go ahead and import React from React. So I'm going to go back to button here because I think it's going to be best to build our building blocks here. So we'll build all our components, then we'll assemble them in our app.js. That probably is going to make most sense. Let's go ahead and import button.css so we have our styling there. And then let's go const button. And this is going to be a purely functional component here. So we can just make it a function call. Actually, instead of this, put parentheses. So we're just going to return a JSX element, so a div basically. Div. Yeah, let's just create a div here. And then inside the button, what I'm going to do is to make the text show up for the button. I think I'm going to render as, we'll pass it as props.children. So you'll see how this works. We pass basically the opening tag and the closing tag of our button component, and then whatever's inside in the middle will be passed in here. So we're going to pass the number, 7, 8, 9, and they're going to show up right there. So let's go in here. We got to export it. So default button. Cool. And so I got a add-on called Prettier. So you probably see it auto formatting. So don't be alarmed as you see that stuff. Button.css. What styling do we have in here? Just gonna add some quick styles in here. We'll say height. We'll say 4 EMs. Display, flex. So I'm going to move through this part pretty quick because it's just some styling. Justify content will help center things up for us. So it'll center the number. I went through already, figured out these styling items, so that's why I'm kind of moving through, kind of quick through them. So line items will vertically align that number. Let's say font weight. We'll say lighter. Font size. Say 1.4 EM. Background. Color. Let's say number E0, E1, E6. So these were colors I pulled off the Mac calculator. Color. That'll just give us a dark gray. So flex 1. That should be the case. I believe that's the default size. Which if you're not familiar with Flexbox, you can specify different sizes. So you can say flex 1, flex 2. So if you have two elements that are both a flex element, and one has a flex size of 1, one has a flex size of 2, one will take up 1/3 while the other will take up 2/3. So that's kind of how it works, but it's for a different tutorial, a different day. Now we're gonna do outline instead of border, because border will make it outside, whereas this will be inside. Say solid, make it a similar color. There we go. Also gonna have this class operator, which you'll see in a second. So we're gonna repurpose this button to be for our operators as well, which are the orange ones. So we'll put some logic in there so we can reuse this button for both. So if it's an operator, we're gonna give it the class operator, and we'll give this weird funky orange color, FE9241, and we want the font color to be white. Cool. So since we're doing that, and based on if it's operator or a actual number or the decimal, we gotta put some logic in here. So let's write a function here to tell us if it is an operator. So let's say const is operator. We'll say the val we're going to pass in, and we'll return not is a number. So you can use this is a number, which you see expects a number to be passed to a parameter and returns a boolean. So it returns a boolean that indicates whether a value is the reserved value, not a number. And so if we say it's not is a number, it is not a number. It is not a number. then it is a number. Not is not a number. It's a double negative there. It's kind of weird, right? So if it's not that and the val, oops, equals, we're going to use triple equals there because it's want to make sure it's equal to that string value, or the val equals the equal sign, then we want to return true. So if any one of these, so basically if it's a number or it is one of these guys, and I say is a number because we're using this not, so is not a number, not, like Borat, then we want to return true because it's a number. Not an operator. Let's see, I think that would work. So let's come down here. Inside here, I'll say class name equals, and we'll use these curly braces here to say we're going to put in some JavaScript code. Then we're going to use backticks, so some ES6 magic for some string interpolation. So we'll give it a class of button wrapper, which is great. But then also, tentatively, I want to give it another class here. So you'll see we have these is operator we want to use. So we'll say is operator. Oops. So pass props.children. So it'll pass that number 7, 8, 9, the decimal, the equal sign. It'll get passed in. And if that is true, we're going to do nothing. So we're not going to add any special class name. If it is false, though, we're going to add the class called operator. So if it is not a number, or it is the decimal, or it is the equal sign, we're going to render nothing. For an additional class name, else we'll add the operator. So that should work. So we save that, that'll reformat for us, and that is looking pretty good. So now we should be able to use that in our app.js. So let me go back over to app.js. Let's come down here. So you have that calc wrapper. Let's do this. We'll say div.row. I'm just hitting tab there, and that's auto completing. So I believe I have hit command comma. I'll take you in here, and you can see I have some edit stuff set up. Emmet, syntax profiles, JavaScript, JSX, glue languages, JavaScript, React, trigger expansion on tab, true. So if you have these in your user settings and you have some of the plugins set, it'll automatically do that for you. So we're going to create different rows here of all our inputs, like our buttons. And so we want to import our button. Components. Oops. Oh no. Keep hitting enter. So now we've imported our button. So now we can use it here. Let's say button. Oops. Say button. And just do this. 7. So we'll just repeat that a couple of times. Change this to 8, 9, and then a slash. So if I save this, let's see if anything renders here. Oop, there it is. It's hard to see, it's right over here. So we probably need some styling to fix that. So let's go into our app.css. And here in app we'll say justify content center, a line item center. So we're just going to center up this box of stuff. And we'll say height, we'll set it to 100 vertical height units. And width, we'll just say 100%. And if we have another class called calc, wrapper. And so this is basically the container around our calculator. It's the box that's going to hold it all in. So for this, we'll just give it a hard width of 400 pixels because we're a lazy developer. We'll say 600 pixels. And then the class row that we're going to use, we'll say display flex. So when you display flex, automatically the default is horizontal alignment. So you'll see everything go from column to row. We'll say the width will be 100%. Boom. There we go. Looking sharp. So you see automatically that turned to orange. Remember from that logic that we did? Where we said is an operator and had complicated logic where it was like not a number. It's kind of ugly, but it's the easiest way to do that, to detect if it's a number or not. But so that's good. So it's making everything gray. That's a number. And if it's not a number, then it's turning it orange there. So that is looking good. So we should be able to do that a couple more times. Put the rest of our numbers in there. Let's do that. So I'm just going to copy this row here. And I think one more for good measure. So this next row will have 4, 5, 6. Do an X. Here we'll do 1, 2, 3, and a plus sign. And here we'll do a dot, the 0. Don't forget the 0. When I was first coding this up, I forgot the 0. I was like, that's going to be pretty challenging to use. And a minus sign. So if we did that right, boom, look at that. That's super sweet box. So that's looking pretty good. What else do we have? We have a clear button. We haven't made the clear button yet. And we also have the input. So maybe we go ahead and make the input right about now. Let's go ahead and do that. This input's going to be pretty short, I think. So we go to input, we go import React from React, capital React, import input.css, and from here we can say let's do export. What did I do over here for button.jsx? It said const. So we can do that. We'll change that export const, but now in our app.js when we import it, we need to import it like that. So that's nice because it's kind of explicit. And as you start typing, it'll autocomplete and it knows, oh yeah, you meant to, oops, hit button. So that's a nice feature when you do it like that. So let's do that here. So we'll say export const input. Yeah. Say equals. I'll use some ES6 magic there. And use parentheses. And by using these parentheses, we no longer have to put a return in here because this looks like it's just a one-line statement essentially because you're wrapping all this stuff here. Little secret sauce there. So we'll say div with a class name at input, and actually we're going to take props in here. So we'll say props dot input. That's what I'll call it. So that's a one-line component right there. Then we just got some styling we got to add in here, but not too bad. So class name was input we created, so we'll give it a height of 4em so it matches everything else we have, and we'll display flex. So we're going to use Flexbox to justify content, and instead of center we're going to do flex end, so that way it'll align all the way right, and we'll align items. Man, keep hitting the enter button. we'll say center, font weight. I want to make it bold for this. This will really stand out. We'll say font size, make it about the same. Background, color, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we'll do black. The font color, we'll do white. Ooh, one too many. Let's say padding 0.5 EM, and we'll outline this as well so it doesn't look weird with everything else. We'll say solid. It's probably a good habit to use all 6 letters or 6 number hexadecimals. Where did I do that in here? 3 instead of being lazy. Gives you the same result, but better to be explicit. All right, so that's looking pretty good. So again, we just did it's a presentational component, so it's a pure component. It's not managing any internal state, so this is really easy to do. And just put it all in one line for us, so it's kind of nice. So we go back to app.js. And now we'll just import input from components / input. So where we're going to add this, we'll do this in just about this row here. Yeah, because this is our wrapper. This app class, we use display flex to center up this box. This box wraps our entire calculator. So right here, we will say input, and we got to pass it as a prop called input. And we'll say this dot state dot input. Well, we don't have state yet, right? So let's add that real quick. I'm going to throw a constructor in here. And we'll pass it props. And we got to call super because we are implementing or extending the component class. So you got to call super. We'll say this.state. Here's we'll set the initial state. And we'll say input is equal to an empty string. So it'll initialize, there'll be nothing there. Then we go here, bam! Look at that. You press on the buttons, nothing happens though. We haven't wired up that logic. But that's looking pretty good. Now we just need to add a clear button down at the bottom there. So let's work on our clear button. This should be a pretty simple component as well. So just like before, we'll import. Can I do RFC? Let me do this. Import React from React. Nothing new there. Import clear button.css. That looks good. And here we'll say export const clear button equals, and I'll take some props. Oops. Parentheses. We don't want to put a return statement in there. So we'll create a div with a class name of clear button. And inside of there, we want to render this dot, oops, say, so curly braces, because we're going to use some JavaScript. I'll say props.children. So you'll see, if you remember back when app.js, so right here in our button, we were referencing this children. So anything you pass between the tags is automatically gets passed as a prop called children. So that's kind of a nice thing you kind of depend on. So we have that. That looks good. And just add on click what do we want to do here? So say props.handleClear. So we need to get another prop called handleClear to tell us how to handle rendering that. Close that. So let's go back to app.js, and we need to pass a function to handle clearing. So since it's going to be pretty easy to do, let's first import our clear button. Component/clear button. And let's come down below here, I believe, after the row. Yeah. So you say div.row, create another row. And here we want to put in the clear button. And the children on this will say the word clear. So that'll be our props.children. And from here, we also want to say the prop handle clear, which is what we need to call. We equal, and I'm not going to put this in a separate function elsewhere because it's going to be simple enough to render here. So we're just going to use an anonymous function there. I'll say this dot set state, because you can't say this dot state equals anymore, because otherwise the DOM won't automatically update and render from React. So you got to use a special function called set state, and from here we just say input, because that was the property you have, and we set it back to an empty string. Cool. So if you go up here, you'll see it'll be reset. Oh, we didn't do any styling, so you see it doesn't look like anything. So let's go to clearbutton.css, and we'll just add some quick styling in here. Clear-btn, and height, we'll say 4em, just like we did all the others. Display flex, justify content, oops, center, line items, center, font weight, let's do lighter, give it a nice clean, crisp look. I'll say font size 1.4em, and background color, we'll say C5, C3, CD. I think that's the same color as the other stuff. I guess we'll find out here shortly. And 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So we'll set the font color to black. Let's say flex 1. I don't think we need it, but just to be safe. Outline 1 pixel, solid 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So we save that. There we go. So that looks pretty good. Awesome. So now we need to handle some of this logic in here, mostly the handle clicking. So if we go into app.js, what do we need to do here? So here we want to probably add a function called, we'll call it add to input. It's not a great name, but I'm going to stick with it. We're not actually adding, we're just, well, we're concatenating onto the string value. That's probably a better way to put it. So use some ES6 magic here. So if you write your function like this, you'll probably see a lot of people up here come like this dot add to input equals this dot add to input dot bind this. So you probably see that. Well, that's because the people aren't using ES6. They're writing out a function saying function add to input. Excuse me, they're not writing the word function. They're going like that. So you have to bind it to this if you write it this way. Or you can be fancy. And the next time you get a coding interview test, you can write it like this and blow their minds. So from here, basically what this function we want to do, so anytime we click on this, we want to call this function. which will go ahead and update this input value, because we're going to basically display this input value into the input section here. You see we say this.state.input. So as this gets updated, it'll display the correct, whatever this input is updated to, automatically gets updated. So we'll say this.set_state. We'll say input. We'll say this.state.input. Pretty sneaky. Didn't know you could reference the state inside of updating the state. Plus val. Cool. So what we're going to do is going to update the state. We're going to update the input, and we're going to say it's equal to the current input plus the val. So we're just concatenating onto this, basically this string value. So if we save that, and then in order to call that, we need to add to each one of these buttons here. So I'm going to highlight it, and in Visual Studio Code you can hit Command D on a Mac. It might be Control D or Alt D on Windows. I may have to try a couple combinations here. We're going to take this all the way down. Keep hitting Command D. So now we have all these cursors. So I'm going to hit right arrow, and then I'll take it all the way to the right side. We can go back one, and now we can do a multi-line edit, and this is going to be amazing. Saved us a bunch of code. So say handle click equals, I'll say this dot add to input. And so we're going to basically pass a prop called handle click, and we're going to pass it down to the button itself. So we save that, and we go into the button.jsx file. Inside of here, so we have class name there. This looks a little crazy, but trust me, this is going to be all right. So we're going to say on click. So if somebody clicks this div here, what do we want them to do? We're going to say, have an anonymous function we want to run. We'll say props.handleClick, because that was the function we passed in. We didn't pass it in with the curly braces because we weren't executing it. Now we're executing it. So we can say props.children. We'll pass in. So we can save that. So now if we go over here, 1, 2, 3 plus. Looking pretty good. Uh-oh. So we didn't want to do that on the equal sign. So that's a mistake. Is our clear working? Yep. Cool. So that works. So let's go back to app.js. So I'm actually going to rename JSX. Does the same thing. It just helps your editor pick it up. You may have to kill and restart your server here anytime you change the file name from JS to JSX. There we go. And it's back. Cool. So that works. So we were fixing, the equal sign. Yeah, so that is a problem we need to fix. So let's go ahead and take care of that right now. Where's the equal? There it is. So on this one, we don't want to do add to input. What do we want to do here? Let's close this out. We're going to write one special function here. So we're going to say this dot handle equal. So we're going to call the handle equal function, which we're going to write up here. We're going to use the ES6 syntax here. Handle equal equals. It's going to be no props passed. We'll say this dot set state, and we're going to say input, and here's where you got to take a pause real quick. So this is where this MathJS comes into play. So you see all this cool stuff, how it evaluates a string, basically math expression written as a string, and it'll actually spit out the numbers. So we need to, let's go to get started. and npm install MathJS. So instead what we can do is we can kill our server, say yarn add MathJS. So that's the equivalent of running that npm install MathJS. So again, if you're having fun, please go ahead and like, share, subscribe. It helps others find the video. All right, cool. So that is done. We can type yarn start and get our server started back up again. So now we have that MathJS available to us. So how we're going to use this is come up to the top here. We'll type import all as math from MathJS. So here we can just do a straight up reference to the npm package we have, or yarn package, whatever you want to call it. So we're going to say import all the functions as math from MathJS. Probably could import just one. Maybe that'd be better. I'll try that in a second here. Let me see if I can do that. No, I'm not gonna do that. Not messing with that. So back where we were, handle equal. So we need to handle the evaluation of the function. So here we're gonna say math dot equal, or eval, excuse me, this dot state dot input. So our input value that we have, we initially set to an empty string. As we type a bunch of keys, we say 1 plus 2, then we hit equals. It's going to trigger this function. It's going to update the state of the input to basically saying do this math evaluation of the current input and spit out the answer as the input. So that's going to look pretty cool. Let's save that. Let's actually go test this out. There we go. So say 1 plus 2 equals 3, and it clears. 1.2 plus 3 minus 6, so equals, oop. So then, yeah. So I think everything's working. That looks right. I think that's a done deal. Let me see if there's anything else I needed to take care of. Index.js, I don't think so. Nope. Nothing in there. It's all looking good. So this is kind of ugly in that button, but that's what we had to do to determine if we want to make it more reusable. We could have broken this up into operator button versus a regular button if we wanted to. It's personal choice, whatever you want to do. You can write some more complicated logic and ruin some other developers' time by not putting comments in there. So go ahead and put comments in there. But you can see it's pretty handy little application. Not super complicated. We obviously could have written the math logic ourselves in app.jsx. But instead, we just took the time, grabbed a library, and that seemed to work out just fine. So it looks like a lot, but we did our multi-line edit using Command D. So it really wasn't that bad. So again, if you liked this tutorial and it was very helpful to you, please like, subscribe, share, and leave a comment. Let me know your feedback. Let me know if you like it. Let me know if the font size is too small. Whatever it may be, I want to hear it. And I appreciate the feedback. You guys are great. Really appreciate the support. I think we're about to break 1,000 subscribers, which is incredible. And from here, we can help others find the video. Just the more people we get on the bandwagon, more people we get hitting like, subscribe, leaving comments, the more the videos will be found, and the more support we'll have to make more videos. So I appreciate all the support, guys. Thanks, and take care.